It's so funny because Past Lives was a June movie, and this is gonna be a June movie too. I don't know. Maybe it's just like my month. You know what I mean? It's like maybe I make movies for June. You know?
Exactly. New York in June. You make movies for New York in June.
Yes, New York City in June.
And we need that. I would love to start with Phantom Thread. I feel like it's one of the best romantic comedies of the past 10 years.
Yes.
And it's one of the most authentically romantic films of the past, 100 years. Partially because of its themes of vulnerability, which I find really, really beautiful and profound. And I'd love if you could talk about your love of Phantom Thread.
I feel like, some of it is it's about sort of almost like a being half in love with death in it, right? That's what's so romantic about it, I think, more than almost anything. Because I feel like, that movie is it's about the kind of the darkest corners of what love is or what connection is, right? And also I think that mainly it was just the visual language that I feel like, my DP Shabir Krishna and are always so inspired by the way that PTA makes movies. It's amazing when I get to see these masters who otherwise make movies in very many different genres and not necessarily romance, but really show up for a romantic film. And then you get to experience what they believe is romantic and just learn so much in that. And I think that's really what it was for Phantom Thread. To me, it's my favorite PTA. And I think it's so romantic. The performances are so beautiful. But the main thing that I think that we were really drawing from really is the way that he shoots conversation. I feel like it's such an art to get to shoot a conversation in a way where it is so rooted in the characters and you feel everything. It's easy to just go from close-up to close-up to close-up to close-up, but PTA's approach to it is just so elegant, and it has steps to it, and each time they have a conversation, and deeper it is, its approach is gonna be different.
And I love what you're saying about the conversations. The two scenes that come to mind are when she initially cooks the asparagus for him and he gets mad because she cooks it with too much butter. That conversation is incredible. And then, of course, the climactic mushroom omelet scene, one of my favorite scenes ever.
In cinema. In cinema. That's how I feel about that scene. It's incredible. And a conversation that completely changes a relationship. I think that's the truth of it, right? Because in in Materialists, there are conversations that completely change your relationship. And those are the hardest thing because we know that those conversations have existed in our lives. Think about a breakup conversation. It was one conversation and it completely changed the relationship. Or let's see each other more seriously conversation that we've had. It changes the relationship completely. Maybe you had a really serious conversation with your parents and it really changed everything, changed the relationship. With making a romantic film, a romantic comedy, so much of it has to do with how one conversation between two people can completely change that relationship, and also in doing so, how each of them see themselves. So I think that really was what was so inspiring and was a very much a touchstone in making Materialists for myself and the actors and every department head, right? We're talking about it as we're trying to shoot a conversation that changes their lives. And I think that the party scene, the incredible New Year's party scene, especially with the dancing, I'm well, those things were just straight up pulling, you know what I mean, from this film, because it's the most beautiful way to shoot it. And I think that Xavier and I were talking about that New Year's Eve scene so much as we were making a plan for how we're going to shoot those dances. A lot of dancing in my movie.
Well, another Daniel Day-Lewis, Martin Scorsese's The Age of Innocence, adapted from Edith Wharton's novel.
I just feel like this movie really is a kind of it's always a touchstone, and I imagine that it's going to be a touchstone forever. Because it's of course, at the time, I think that Martin Scorsese was making a lot of gangster films. And I remember being I really want to know what Martin Scorsese's romance is. Period romance, one of my favorite genres of movies ever. A period romance. He's made a period romance, and you watch it and you're well, actually that's incredible because this is being made some parts of it is being made it's Goodfellas, right? So there's some sequences that are straight up. I'm oh, this is Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, it's incredible. The social situation, this domain of women, right? This domain of the marriage market is being treated like it's the lair of the gangsters. And I think that's and there's this beautiful voiceover that really hammers it in. I think there's something about that I just always think about, especially when I'm talking about when I make movies about love. I'm like, well, what is it about topic of love that is not seen or treated with the same kind of like connection to power and danger as gangster film? When I was making Materialists, I was thinking about it very much as the structure of Materialists is as a noir, right? And because it's about a person who is in a cynical job, there's a femme fatale, there is a partner you trust, there is a police chief, you know? So I think that and this is something that I was talking to all my departments and also my actors. I'm like, well, it's the structure of it is funny enough. It has a bit of a noir in it. And of course, in the first 5 minutes, you meet the case that changes your life. So, and that's a pretty classic noir. And of course, the movie ends with either you get promoted or you run away with the femme fatale. Right? And similarly, I think that this approach to the topic of romance and the marriage and relationship and those things being made by Martin Scorsese, being made through the eyes of somebody who is a master of the gangster genre, I think that to me inspired me so much for this movie. And it still inspires me so much. And of course, the chemistry, the intimacy, like, it's incredible in that film.
I love what you're saying about how, we put this gravitas and this importance on, Martin Scorsese's gangster films like Goodfellas, The Departed,
that I love so
all of those, which I love all those movies. But then The Age of Innocence, that's just as serious. You said before that love is super, super serious. It's the most important thing that happens to us. Yeah. And I love that he treats that with equal weight.
Exactly. Well, I feel like to me, it's like he's the question of marriage and love. It's like, well, he's approaching it with the same seriousness that he would approach any other topic. He would approach death. So the thing is, it's like, well, I think in general, I think that love is just a topic that is worthy of cinema and is worthy of being talked about with the same seriousness, same philosophical seriousness as any other topic. And I think that the great filmmakers all know that.
Yes, no, I'm pumping my fist. I agree,
yeah.
100%.
I know we align. I know we know each other. You know what I mean? I know we freaking agree about this. That's why I love talking to you so much. We just chat. We just have fun.
We're about to get into some more literary adaptations. I love how many were on this list, especially the Merchant Ivory films.
Oh, I know.
But the films that you picked were Howard's End and A Room with a View. Yes. Helena Bonham Carter in both. I love these films. Tell me about them.
She's incredible. I mean, the thing about Howard's End that I just love so much is the whole movie is about this piece of property. And I think about this, I think we should talk about it when we're talking about Pride and Prejudice as well, but Howard's End, and then what I really feel connected to in Victorian romances when it comes to making Materialists is that I don't feel that we have come as far from these Victorian romance times as I think we hope. I think that there is a huge improvement in that women can have a job, and make a living on their own. So there's an independence that women have in modern day, which is incredible. And but there is still this very deep practicality and materialism that is connected to the topics of marriage and romance, right? And how do you find true love in the middle of all that? And Howard's End, most of that film is about what's going to happen to this incredible property that they all love and also has some dark sides to. And I think that to me, it's that amazing interplay between the practical, the material that we're dealing with, and especially women of this time have dealt with, because the only way to be not living in squalor is to marry well. Right? Only way to be to have a good life is to marry well at the time. So I think the pressures of that was just so beautifully drawn, and it's so funny and so charming, and it's a beautiful movie, and it's endlessly watchable, Howard's End. And I think that I would say it's also connected to A Room with the View too. A Room with the View is about a very adventurous woman, and a woman who is I think contending with the things that we're talking about, which is that can a woman be independent? Is it possible? And then of course in the face of a woman who wants to be independent, the question of romance, right? The question of but then what is it like to be in love as well? That to just be independent, but to be independent but to have love in your life. Honestly, it was something that me and my production designers and Tony Gasparo, my DP again, Shabby Practitioner, and my costume designer, Katina Tenebasis. Like all of us, we were talking about Remit de Vue a lot as a film that I always feel like I want to move into and I want to live in, right? It is so beautiful and it's just so delicately treated, right? You just want to, I don't know, like every frame, I'm always like, I just want to move in there. Like I want to move into that. I want to move into that film, you know? So I think that was something, you know, me and my department heads were talking about at all times. We're like, well, we want to, it's such a story about New York City, right? Materialists is a story about New York City in a way that A Remit de Vue is about Venice, right? So I'm like, well, we just wanted to be the city at its most romantic and most beautiful too. Even the less pretty places, there's a way to approach it in a way that's completely beautiful. Like John's space, like in front of the bodega. I'm like, well, we're looking for the most romantic bodega possible, right? It's like, so that was a guiding principle throughout. And I would talk about the Remit de Vue a lot, about like how Venice is not shot just for its like majesty and its natural beauty, but it also has such a point of view about how pretty and cute it is too.
What I love about The Materialists is how you are showing how these times are cyclical. These issues are essentially the same, just repackaged, and you're updating them to this modern day setting of New York for a new generation. I think that's really, really cool, and I'd love to hear about how Jane Austen's work in particular helped shape this framework. I mean, especially Emma with a period, since that one also deals with matchmaking.
Emma. Oh yeah, it straight up deals with matchmaking. I love that movie. If you show me a Victorian romance, I'll probably love it. I mean, the marriage for such a long time was a domain of women, because it's the only place where women had any control over their destiny for a long time, right? Now, of course, we are, because of our foremothers, like, and then every inch of, rights and everything that they fought for. Like, how lucky that I was born into a world where I can work and I can make a living on my own and be independent. I get to be a director. Like, it's so cool, right? So I feel so lucky in that. But I do think that the history of that still remains in society, right? And the history of that is something that, and of course, it's like, and I think about that in terms of, in the middle of all this, I think that it used to be that the marriage market was something that ran on the gossip mill, right, in the powder rooms and like in the salons. But now you get to see that, well, now it's just happening on our phones. This gossip mill, this thing of like, it's like, well, where are you in the marriage market, right? And the part of it is like, it's like, let's say somebody is like walking around with a guy who's 6 feet tall and makes this much money, and you go on a vacation you go to a vacation in Bali and post photos on it. Well, now it's not just a question of the gossip. Now million people are going to look at that, and then they're going to feel less than, right? And they're going to feel like they do not, they're lower in the marketplace than this person is. So there's the kind of a thing where it's like this kind of a commodification and objectification of the self and of each other. And in my film, a character says, well, I'm not merchandise, I'm a person. Right? And I think that increasingly it is easier and easier to turn people into merchandise. And so much of Victorian romances have been about this meat market, the merchandise, right? Women as merchandise. And the stories are always about women who are trying to find their personhood in this market. And while everybody treats them like merchandise, to say, I'm not merchandise, I'm a person. And then, of course, the fantasy is that these women meet men who love them for that, right? Like, what an incredible thing. How incredible that Darcy's in love with Liz, right? It's like, how amazing. Like, and Liz is somebody who says, well, I'm not merchandise, I'm a person. Emma as well. Emma is about somebody who wants to be helpful. She's a matchmaker and she wants to be helpful the way that Lucy wants to be helpful, right? In the marketplace, she's much closer to the women that she's setting up than the men, right? And she's very much trying to give them some sense of destiny on their own, right? In Materialists, that's also the message, that love And human life is not one that you can control. It feels like you can, but you can't. And also, you yourself are a person too, even if you're a matchmaker, right? You yourself are in the dating market as well. So how do you see yourself in that, right? How are you going to contend with love in that situation too? I love that one. And also I love their kiss. Their kiss is so good. People have been kissing in movies for such a long time that now I think that it has to get a little specific. You know what I mean? Like yes. I think I like it when I can feel the psychology of each character in every kiss. So that's also the way that I would work with an actor, as in like when it comes to a kiss. It's like, it's not going to be, we of course do so much work in rehearsal, but it's like we just get to talk about like, well, what's going on with them in this scene. Emma has the most intelligent kiss scenes where she like kisses him, she kisses him, and she's like just trying it out. She looks like she's like, she does it and she's like, what do I think? And then he responds with like this most adorable smile, and then he just like turns her head and they kiss, right? And then they have a really full kiss, right? But she like, it's an amazing piece of performance. But I feel like there, what I really like is that it's like, it's not just like, now we're together, now we kiss. It's like Emma's like, well, let me try it out. You know, like there's something so sweet and coy about it. She's like, I want to try it. I know I'm in love. Am I gonna like kissing him? And then she tries it, and she's like, oh, that was nice. And then he's like, shut the fuck up. And then he just like kisses her. Like, it's so romantic.
No, exactly. And not to bring everything back to Phantom Thread, but I mean, kiss me, my girl, before I am sick.
Yes.
That kiss.
Oh.
Yes.
Insane.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
all those kisses, right? It looks incredible. But I think it's always because they're showing up with so much of themselves in it, right? It's always about the vulnerability of it. It's not just like, we make out. It's always like, I just have to. Or like it's yearning. We're talking about yearning, right? It's like, they just understand how to kiss in a way that implies yearning. Which I'm like, what's a kiss for? Except for relief of some longing. Right? It's like, that's a kiss. Some of that yearning is like, it's like a small gestural thing that goes a really long way. So, and I'm always like, you know, it's like I'm always talking about with my actors, and this was true of Past Lives and is also true in Materialists. I think when it comes to those scenes with closeness, the only thing I'm really giving them direction on sometimes is just where their hands should be. They already know walking in because of the rehearsal and the table work that we did, but it's like and then of course when I'm directing it, it's always like, where we're gonna put the hands is gonna be something, and then where do you move it to? That's something that I feel very specific about, because hands, I think, because it's a way that we reach out into the world, right? They tell an amazing story, right? And I think it's like, and there are moments, of course, in every single one of these movies where there is something with the hands, right? And it's like, you can hold it, you can hold hands, you can touch someone. Like, there's something amazing about hands as a storytelling.
In tribute to Asian cinema, Yi Yi, Edward Yang, that can be our grand finale because it's the 11th highest rated narrative feature of all time on Letterboxd. And I felt the influence in the way that you framed certain shots, especially kind of the longer dialogue scenes. We talked a little bit already about how you do dialogue scenes.
Well, I think that to me, it's like Yi Yi is kind of a really foundational film when it comes to the way that if you want to make a movie where it is the way that it's shot has to tell the story, right? Because Yi is like one of those, it's incredible, like it's like a textbook. Like that movie is like a textbook in that like there's shots and the way that you approach a scene that feels so intimate while not just making it be a close-up after another close-up. So it has so much more to do with filmmaking. And of course, Yi has, it's got the best wedding scene, like it's one of the best wedding scenes in history, easily. And something about it, it's like there's a moment where the wedding guests are singing a Sweet Caroline in my movie. And for that scene, my second AD, Stephen Coleman, who is in charge of directing background, he hadn't seen Yi Yi, and I actually asked him to watch Yi Yi and so that he can create the wedding vibes from Yi Yi in it. And you will see it in the movie that it is as good time as Yi Yi is. You know, like that scene, that the scene in particular. So shout out to Stephen. For me, it's so much to do with the the way that we're working through the background, there's so much like storytelling that can happen in the way that the environment and the background and the framing can do, even beyond the incredible work that the actors are doing, right? And also it's like, you know, like Yi is an incredibly emotional and like really psychologically beautifully drawn film. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be one explosive tear fest after another. It's always about characters that are trying to fight the thing that they're feeling. I mean, I think that Yi's going to be a part of my list in every movie, because, and I think that probably is why it's the top 11 film. If you're a cinephile, I feel like we all end up really appreciating what it's like to tell a story in a way where it uses all aspects of cinema, all corners of making cinema to make it, right? The storytelling is even in the little piece of fabric that is on the carton. Like, it's just the most detailed. I don't know. So and also on top of it, it's like, I mean, it's just so devastating, that film. It's so good, you know? Oh, everything is beautiful.